everyone, my name is Carlo Libertini and thank you so much for hanging with me today. I'm really excited about this. Are you using advanced metering to reference your audio with? If you're not, you're really cheating yourself out. Because in this day and age where so much has gone digital and our mixes are more complex and dense, whether you're working with immersive audio, surround sound, or even stereo, you want to know what's going on between those lines, because there's a lot of tracks of music that have to work together. I'm talking about phase correlation. You have metering. You also get the spectral analysis here, and it all gives you one cohesive window to reference your work with. Keep an eye on where things are going, and that is called Halo Vision by the great folks at NUGEN Audio, and I'm really excited to share that with you. Now, I've loaded a session of some of my demo music, and I thought we could kick some tires with this. Now, yes, Halo Vision is super flexible because not only can you do stereo referencing with it, but as I mentioned before, surround sound and the most modern types of immersive audio. So although I won't be doing an immersive audio example here for obvious reasons, because I don't have an Atmos setup at the moment, the fundamentals are the same. So we'll talk about some more of those and give you some other different kinds of examples in the meantime. So what we're looking at here is the graphical user interface. Let's take a listen. Each one of these modules is completely customizable. You can resize them, move them around, and you can adjust the settings for each one to work and display in a particular way that works for you. And I'll show you just how to do that. Isn't it beautiful? Such a cohesive, nice, and professional work environment. So what we're looking at here is the general layout. And this here is one of the presets I just happened to pop on. As I always mention when it comes to NUGEN audio products, they seem to give you so many useful presets right out of the box that you almost don't have to customize any. But I think making these programs work for you, thus, customizing them, which we'll do also in this video, I think is a great way because, you might have particular workflows that work for you. And as you get to know the programs better, then you're able to literally just create something for every kind of possible scenario. All right, so let's talk a little bit about monitoring here. Now, the utility controls are really simple. Let's go to a default layout. Let me go to here. I just popped right here. I'm going to open up the presets browser, choose the first one called Basics, and just go to it. Now we have a nice streamline here. We've got time code and some peak metering. Okay, we'll get into that. Now, here we have an undo button and a redo button up in the main utility control, and we can browse through the included presets. Now, here's the first tip for you. The presets that I'm browsing through are here. Let me open up the main preset window, are here under All. So if I was to go to User, these are my presets that I created. It's only going to browse through the presets that I created and have stored in my user. So if you're browsing around and you don't see a preset that you're looking for, perhaps you need to come here and go to a different folder containing those presets, all right? You have installed, favorites that you can mark as favorites with the little heart icons, all in user, and you can even add a new folder. Why would I recommend adding a new folder? This is really, really cool. If you're working with, let's say, a specific genre of music, you have metering for, hard rock, metering for country, or metering for immersive sound or basic surround, you can create a folder for each one of those. And then your presets, your customizable user presets will grow and you can populate them by saving them in there. And of course, I will show you how to do that. So adding a folder, it's all about workflow and managing your projects, isn't it? Because not all projects are going to be the same. And that's why taking advantage of little tips like this can really help you in the long run. So I definitely recommend creating folders representing the kinds of work you're working with and maybe have specific types of presets that you create within them. Let me go back to all. All right, there. And then just, you can close it right there. So scrolling through presets, there you go. These are my presets. Let's go to the installed ones, and I'll pick one and choose close. And now you can scroll through some more. And then of course we've got the question mark. This is going to open the about page, which gives you information about the plugin and what version we're using. All right, just basic stuff there. And of course you can check for updates and open the manual, which I recommend you do every single time. Reading the manual, it's not a huge manual because it gives you insight into basically what's included regarding these individual modules and a little bit about customizing them. But working with that and making it your own is definitely what I recommend every time. So speaking of which, why don't we get into the main section here. Now, here you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 modules open here. Each one of them can be resizable. I've always appreciated this because sometimes, like for example, see how the metering here goes from vertical to horizontal now? Well, maybe that's the kind of view you want. And you can also, you know, expand your spectrogram view like this. So having things customizable, again, is all about what helps you not only sonically, but visually when you're working with audio. I'd like a view maybe that looks something like this, you know, and maybe you wanted the meters to be a little bit, there you go, that's the max right there. And these to be something like that. And of course you can resize the general global size of the HaloVision itself. So not only is it resizable, there's also unique buttons that we can actually access. So why don't we go to here? This is called the correlation meter. Let's talk about this one right now. Okay, so why don't we go through the modules a little bit one at a time. And here's how it basically works. I'm going to clear out my whole window. There's nothing on here. If I play audio, there is no audio data for HaloVision to give me any feedback on, because we can now load a module. And down here, you see the plus sign. So why don't we start at the top? We've got the correlation meter, correlation web, which I'll explain in a minute, frequency and haze, spectrum, location haze, peak meters, and time code. And next to each one, in case you're wondering what they are, is a little question mark. Just by hovering on there, it gives you some insight into what that meter can offer you, what its tool is, what its specialty is. It's going to display the phase relationship between each pair of channels. So under the correlation matrix is going to help me understand the phase correlation. And that's always important whether you're working with music or surround or immersive. All right, so why don't we select that one? And there it is. Just beautiful, isn't it? Now, this is a really cool way to graphically present phase correlation, because you get this really cool arching meter here. And what this is going to do is give you basically -1 would be out of phase. I think a value of 1 would be, that indicates 100% negative correlation, out of phase. This is out of phase. And 0 indicates no correlation. So you want somewhere around here, I would say. Let's take a look at what we're doing here. Again, reading the manual is utmost important. And once you know what it is, it's just a piece of cake. So from this, I can see that I might have some possible phasing issue here with some of the instruments. I'm running HaloVision right now on my main bus here. So it's correlating the information of all of those frequencies from all of these tracks at once. And what you're seeing down here with the different colors is a correlation between both the left and right channels here working together in this box area. So it's kind of like a meeting point where if you were to do this with immersive sound, it would look something like this now. See the difference? Left, center, right. And then you got surround sound, and you got left rear, right rear, LFE. All of these, both left and right channels working together to blend together, and it gives you the coloration. This kind of detail is what makes Halo Vision really different. You can see through the colors which ones would be out of phase, which ones are in phase, so you can work within the parameters relative to those channels. So if your center channel was out of phase for some reason at that point, you can investigate that, and then you can go in there and you can edit that issue. So this is just a small little image of the correlation matrix in a surround sound setup. This one here that I'm using in real time during this event is a stereo one. So it's a correlation meter. It's going to help you understand what's in phase and what's out of phase based on the color. Okay, so green will be in phase and red would be out of phase. All right, let's cancel that and let's go to our next module. Now the correlation web, because it's grayed out here, is because I'm not doing surround sound, but I will show you that this is what it looks like. It's basically a global matrix that is giving you a similar effect with the colors and the phase relationship, but in a surround sound panning matrix view. Just wanted to show that because, again, Halo Vision is completely applicable to both surround sound, immersive, and stereo. All right? All right. Now, so that brings me to the next one, frequency and haze. This is kind of a basic one. Check it out. What this is doing is it's showing you the strength of these particular frequencies by the strength of the color energy. So here in the middle, you got 40 hertz, 90, 200, 500, 2K, and 5 kilohertz. So you can see how wherever the darker, stronger colors are, here, the blue, let's say around between 90 and 200 is where there's a lot of energy. So this is going to give me that kind of view. I actually like this one quite a bit. Kind of gives you a perceived location of the energy of that sound relative to, in this case, my left and right speakers. So this looks pretty good for a stereo mix. Okay, so that's going to be the frequency haze. And under settings, you have a little icon here to open it up that gives you some more parameters for each one of these modules. You can set the range and the display access. If I knew more about that, I'd tell you, but you got to have something left to learn. All right, let's go to the next one. And that is going to be classic, the spectrum. It's your basic FFT. And who doesn't need one of these, right? It's going to give us our frequency here and the amplitude. There's a lot of nice energy between 100 and 200 here. Not overly bright. Kind of like that. And in a surround sound situation, you would have an option to have each one of these in groups mode, to have different colors assigned to each one of the channels so you can see how they relate to each other on a spectrogram. Obviously, that's a huge advantage. And if you wanted to access more of the controls up here in the settings, you could choose groups or single. The peak hold time, the response time, and the fallback, plus the color of the spectrum. Let's say I wanted something a little bit more along my favorite, orange. Voila. Okay, but if you're working with immersive, a lot more parameters will be available to you. Halo Vision's pretty smart that way. All right, and the next one, let's go to is the our peak meters. Now this is just basic, but I love them. They're super accurate, and some of the settings here you can choose between true peak, sample peak, which I often use, and Apple peak for your max range, and then your max range could be between -45, and you could set this, customize it, and of course the colors and your peak hold and your fallback. Now I actually have a custom set of meters that I use that I'll show you in a minute, but this is pretty straightforward. All right, let me close this one. And let's try demonstrate the next one. It's going to be time code. Obviously, this is going to reference hours, minutes, and seconds. This is, great, not only for music and stuff like this to get the time of where you're at, but more importantly, when you're working with post-production work here. All right, and let's have a little fun. Now, speaking of presets, let's go to my user ones, and I'll show you some of the ones I've created. This one's called Haze and Location. This is going to give me basic information, again, regarding the relationship of the audio in the left and right channels here, and the energy and the frequency spread in this one. I like this view a lot. Now, why is this important? Because sometimes, especially after you've been working with audio for a while, your ears could become tired, or you also, worse yet, you can become used to hearing something and it becomes familiar to you. And what I mean is, if you're listening to something, perhaps it's a problem, but you weren't aware of it because your ears just tuned into it. Having meters like this to give you, a more accurate information visually can help trigger something within you to say, hey, wait a minute, what is that? Oh, I do hear that now. Let me try EQing that frequency out, for example, and then, give yourself an advantage, because that's what these tools are supposed to do. They're supposed to help guide you and give you information into what it is, is happening with frequency and time and phase. All of that has to work perfectly, especially in today's environment where there's no excuse now, because you should be using advanced digital metering like this. And Halo Vision just nails it. It's a beautiful program to work with. Now, as I mentioned before, because I'm in my user folder, when I scroll through my presets, it's only going to scroll through the presets that are in the user folder that I'm selected on. So my next preset would be this one, the phase and the spectrogram. As I mentioned before, red up here, if the meter was here, would be out of phase, and the more green, it's in phase. It's mostly in phase. Okay. And if you wanted to customize this at any time, I could say, I could just come in here, I can change it to single and choose the color back to orange, and that is it. And then the next preset I have here would be, let's see, it's just my meters. Now, if you want some, another reason why I love exploring the included presets is because it can often expose you to different ways to think about how you want to adjust your settings. For example, this is my custom setting here. Let me go to settings, and you'll see that I have it set not to true peak, but to sample peak. I want to know exactly where it is relative to the digital samples. And I also changed the color here to yellow, and I have my peak hold set to 1 second. You can click and drag in here to change that value. So I customized and made my own peak meters. I'm making this work for me. And that's the best way this software should serve anybody. Okay, let me go back to that and say, yeah, I could change this one to your typical green if I wanted. Now I got green, yellow, and red. It's kind of what I grew up with. Let's do one more. Let's say I wanted to get a little bit fun. And yeah, I like purple. And let's change this one to a little brighter red. That's pretty sweet. I might keep it on that one. Okay, so that is a little bit about each module, but let's have a little fun now. Let's create our own preset. How's that sound? All right, let's go to this blank page right here. I just close all of the modules. I am set. Make sure you know where you are. I'm in my user folder here. And let's have a little fun. I want to create a preset. All you need to do is choose one from these available. And if you don't know what they are, remember, hover over the question marks, and it's going to give you a nice little description about each one. I do love the correlation meter, so I'm going to add that. And let's add another one. I definitely want my spectrum in there. I definitely want my peak meters in there. And I kind of like this. I kind of like this. Okay. All right. Let's take a listen. Okay, now I'm going to slide it around. Say, yeah, that looks better there. And do I want to make that smaller or bigger? I'm going to keep it, I'll keep it in the middle like this. Let's go back and customize this now. I'm going to keep this on single band, and so it's going to do everything. I'll do a little bit, let's go green here this time. And my response time will be, I want it a little bit faster. All right, so there's that. Let's check it out. So I'm actually creating a preset here that, let's go back to groups. I'm creating a, oh, so that's too slow. Okay. All right, but you know, we're learning. This is great. Let's go back to my settings here. And it's really slow. Let's go too fast. Much better. And remember our meters? Let's set some of these colors up. Say, nope, I want this to be purple, and I want this one to be green, and I want this one to be bright red. Oh, also, what was my metering? I could set true peak or one of my favorites, sample peak. And if you want to add another module, let's say this. Here we go right here. Now to save this, basically come up to your preset browser and choose Save As. Now it actually made a double of it here. What I'm going to do is right here, you got the three little dots, select that and choose Rename. Now I always tag the letter CL for my initials there. And I'm going to say, let's say, all I need. I'll call this one All I Need. And there it is right here. And I can make that a favorite. And by putting a little heart there, you see that under favorites now, there it is. So favorites is another way to quickly access your favorite presets. Favorite presets, get it? So let's go back to user. I'll select this one and choose close. And now we can scroll through my 4 user presets. And you can scroll through them in real time. Here's the one we just created together called All I Need. So it's called Hazen Location 2. I have to rename this one. Here's Hazen Location. And this is Sample Peak. And you notice in the description, by the way, you could actually put in whatever type of information you want there regarding you know, what it is it's doing. You can always add a little blurb or description or something regarding that. All right, so and again, these are all resizable. You can move them around. And I could bring this one down here. Yeah, or I could bring this one. Maybe can we squeeze it in there? Right in the middle. Look at that. Oh, I like this one. The spectrogram's a little bit too small, but still. I guess it's the information, the insight that these kinds of tools are going to provide users, you and me, working every day, whether you're in a demo home studio, whether you're in a professional Atmos mixing environment or basic surround sound still, which is still widely used. This is a super flexible, really easy to use, but it's precise. All of the information that this is giving you is 100% accurate. I've been using this for a while and I depend on it. So this is what I need to give me an advantage. It's doing a lot of the listening for me, but giving me that visual aid. And as I said before, backing up, sometimes when you're working long hours and long days, your ears might get fatigued. I mean, it's part of life. We are human beings. You may get used to hearing something without realizing that it could be a possible issue. And that happens as mixes grow and get bigger and more complex later on in your day. But by keeping an eye and always referencing your meters, halo vision to be exact, this is what's going to give you that advantage and make your work a lot stress, a lot less, a lot easier, a lot less stress, because as your mixes grow, you might be building up some mud in some areas, or creating a potential issue later on. So referencing Halo Vision often, or keeping it open, like I have 3 monitors here in my studio. I always have this open on another monitor, and sometimes in full screen. It just looks beautiful. So I have an instant, always visual into what's happening every second to my audio. And you just can't beat that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the interface again. At the very bottom panel, I should also recommend that here we've got the logo. If you select it, it gives you the insight into that information. Again, we can open the manual and check for updates from here. I always recommend checking for updates, because, updates is, things are always changing, right? And these companies are always struggling to make things better for us. Let's go to our drums. I think I put Halo Vision. Yes, I put Halo Vision just on our drum bus. As another example, you don't have to put it on your master bus. I often put it on group buses. For example, in a music situation like we've been doing in this presentation, I'll put Halo Vision on my drum bus, on my vocal bus, on my orchestra bus, on my guitar bus, and it'll give you added insight. So rather than compile all of these tracks into a visual Halo Vision, I love that name, Halo Vision, on a master bus, you can actually reference it in chunks, in areas, and in groups. And that's another way, a little tip for you, to try to keep things on track and try to keep your audio really cohesive and sounding great, and while building up frequencies, unwanted frequencies in other areas that you don't want. So referencing this on on one track even, or on groups of tracks like this, I think is really cool. So here it is just on my drum bus. I can see that the phase correlation is pretty good. Could be probably a little bit better. Remember, green, all the way here in the green, means that's totally in phase, but it's nowhere near the red, so that's actually a good problem too. And I'm just scrolling through my presets. Let's go to the installed presets, and I'll give you an example of what some of these look like on my drum bus. This is center channel. I have no center channel right now. Correlation meter, just straight correlation. This is the default window that we opened up to. And yes, it is resizable. Watch, I can just make it any size I want by clicking and dragging in the corner. Frequency inspection. Frequency overview. Front, back, and top spectrums. Hazy. Again, I actually like these quite a bit. Remember, this one shows you the energy, the brightness of the colors relative to where they are in the frequencies in the spectrum. If this was surround sound, you would have your center channel and your rear channels all represented there. High-end inspection. Now you can see this is in the settings here. You might ask yourself what's going on, because you see between 4 kilohertz and 7 kilohertz. You can come up to the settings, and you can see it's between 3 hertz and 20 hertz. So that's been changed. Also under these, you have a button to enlarge them. So if at any time you wanted to get a greater view with these modules, see that? I can make it just one module fit the entire app like that. Okay, that's also really cool. All right. So we've covered quite a bit, but of course the best way is to find out for yourself. Halo Vision is a new product from the great folks at NUGEN Audio. And I definitely recommend that if you haven't invested in this kind of power, this real-time visual analysis, then you should, because it's going to change the way you work. Now, my name's Carlo Libertini. I've had nothing but a great time showing you this. I hope that you dive right in and you can take advantage of these tools and start mixing better and happier today. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a great day.